At the United Nations General Assembly, India has once again exposed Pakistan's duplicity on terrorism and human rights. Speaking at the 80th UNGA session, Indian lawmaker Nishikant Dubey slammed Islamabad for its grave violations of child rights and cross-border terrorism, while defending India's counter-terror operation, Operation Sindoor, as a balanced and legitimate response to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. His remarks followed India's earlier statement last week, delivered by parliamentarian PP Chaudhry, which also dismantled Pakistan's falsehoods on Jammu and Kashmir and highlighted its domestic repression and global isolation. India's strong diplomatic statements at the UNGA comes on the heels of Operation Sindoor, a targeted counter-terror operation launched in May 2025 after the Pahalgam terror attack, in which 26 civilians were brutally killed in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistan-backed terrorists. The operation involved surgical strikes on 9 major terror hideouts inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. New Delhi described it as a measured and non-escalatory response designed to protect Indian civilians while dismantling terrorist infrastructure. At the UN debate on children and armed conflict, Indian lawmaker Nishikant Dubey drew the world's attention to Pakistan's appalling record on child rights. Citing the UN Secretary General's 2025 report, he said, Pakistan continues to be one of the most serious violators of the CAAC agenda, responsible for cross-border shelling, airstrikes, and attacks on schools and health workers, particularly along the Afghan border. He said Pakistan's military actions have led to the killing and maiming of Afghan children, while its state machinery simultaneously shelters and trains terrorist groups that target civilians in India.
यह एक ऐसा देश है जो सीएएसी एजेंडे का सबसे गंभीर उल्लंघन करने वालों में से एक है। हम उनकी सीमाओं के भीतर बच्चों के साथ हो रहे गंभीर दुर्व्यवहारों से दुनिया का ध्यान हटाने के लिए उनके प्रयासों की कड़ी निंदा करते हैं। जैसा कि सीएएसी पर महासचिव द्वारा 2025 में जारी रिपोर्ट और साथ साथ चल रहे सीमा पार आतंकवाद से भी स्पष्ट होता है कि अपनी सीमाओं से परे इस रिपोर्ट में पाकिस्तान द्वारा स्कूलों, विशेषकर बालिका विद्यालयों में स्वास्थ्य कर्मियों पर किए हमलों का विस्तृत ब्यौरा प्रस्तुत किया गया है और अफगानिस्तान सीमा की उन घटनाओं के बारे में बताया गया है जहां पाकिस्तान द्वारा सीमा पार से की गई गोलीबारी और हवाई हमले सीधे तौर पर अफगान बच्चों की हत्या और अपहंगता के लिए जिम्मेदार हैं। यदि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का उल्लेख किया जाए सभापति महोदय, तो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समुदाय पाकिस्तान द्वारा प्रशिक्षित आतंकवादियों द्वारा किए गए क्रूर लक्षित हमलों को भूला नहीं है, जिसमें 22 अप्रैल 2025 को जम्मू और कश्मीर के पहलगांव में 26 निर्दोष नागरिकों की जान चली गई। एक सुविचारित और संतुलित प्रतिक्रिया में भारत ने आतंकवाद के खिलाफ अपनी रक्षा के लिए इसके अपराधियों को न्याय के कटघरे में लाने के लिए अपने वैध अधिकारों का प्रयोग किया और मई 2025 में ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के तहत 9 आतंकवादी ठिकानों पर लक्षित हमले किए।
Dubey also highlighted India's contrasting approach, one grounded in child welfare and human development. He pointed to initiatives such as Child Helpline 1098 and programs for the holistic development of children, underlining India's commitment to human rights and social progress. Analysts say his statement was not just about moral contrast, but part of India's long-term diplomatic strategy to expose Pakistan's duplicity by tying terrorism and human rights violations together before global institutions. Earlier last week, at the UNGA's third committee, senior lawmaker PP Chaudhry led India's first parliamentary delegation to the session, a rare move that signaled how seriously New Delhi now treats global narrative building. In his intervention, Chaudhry dismantled Pakistan's propaganda on Jammu and Kashmir and exposed its record of political repression, media censorship, and state-sponsored violence against its own citizens. He pointed out that Pakistan continues to misuse UN forums to project itself as a victim, even as its own military regime jails opposition leaders, suppresses protests, and bombs restive regions like Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Pakistan continued to display its utter lack of respect for this august forum by misusing the principle of self-determination to further its narrow political ends. I would like to emphasize that it is habitual for Pakistan to respect falsehood equivalences, which are symbolic of Pakistan's nefarious designs and sinister intent. The rapid strides made by the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir in multiple spheres attest to focused attention paid by India to improve the daily lives of citizens. Democratic tradition and values are alien to Pakistan, and it is not a surprise that they have chosen to not account for the will of the people by them as recently as October 2024. A country that regularly rigs its election, jails its popular leaders, bombs its population, and is presently brutally suppressing popular protests should be ashamed to point fingers at others. The truth is, Pakistan is diverting focus from the failed state it is. Nothing short can be expected.
Chaudhry's remarks also underscored India's developmental achievements, from lifting 250 million people out of poverty to expanding social security coverage to 64% of the population. He noted that women's participation in higher education and the workforce has reached record levels, and technology-led governance reforms like UPI and direct benefit transfer have revolutionized financial inclusion. These statements together painted a sharp contrast. India as a nation of progress and accountability, and Pakistan as a state trapped in extremism and regression. Experts believe India's dual interventions, Chaudhry's earlier address and Dubey's recent remarks mark a turning point in India's global narrative against Pakistan.